welcome. We really appreciate all of you watching this, no matter where you are. And as you know, this is going to be our final session, and it's going to be with Neha and Shubham, as you can see, who are already turned on their cameras because they are excited to share with us their knowledge and expertise. Well, without further ado, I will now pass the session on to our lovely speakers, Neha and Shubham. You guys can take it away.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having us. A big thank you to the QA Talks community. Hi, everyone. I'm Neha, and this is Shubham. We are the maintainers of Kepler. It's an open source API testing tool. So not just the record replay, but also the data mocking and a tool that will eliminate the need to have test environments, writing or writing any test scripts. So I will just quickly share my screen. Hope it's visible.
Yep, full screen as well.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, a little bit about ourselves. So we have been working together, I think, for around 6-7 years, and we have together led data engineering team at Farai, which is a logistics SaaS company from India, and innovation team at Lenskart. And we are very enthusiastic contributors to open source world. So we have contributed to projects like Jenkins X, XWiki, Kubernetes, etc. So yeah, today we're going to talk about increasing the test coverage by just recording, replaying the API calls and converting them to test cases, plus going to the extra mile and having that test data as well. So we're going to talk about that, and Shubham is also going to showcase a demo. So I will just quickly align ourselves that we all want to achieve this state of shifting left as possible when it comes to testing. And if we all know, if the bugs leaks towards the right of that software development life cycle, it's going to cost us exponentially high. This is a very popular study by Jones-Kepler, and not only very expensive in terms of the cost to business, but also the effort that the team is going to spend on fixing that bug, especially in production, and the frustration that comes up with those bugs floating in. So yeah, I hope you all agree that we want to shift as left as possible. Now, to achieve this scenario, we all started with manual testing. When the code is very small, you start with manual testing, which becomes difficult when the application code grow, and the test coverage becomes limited because it is very time consuming when it comes to manually testing every feature or on every release. So then we moved to automation testing because manual was not scalable. In automation, we tried writing test scripts and data mocks, but we were not able to keep up with the feature releases because writing takes time and customer wants the feature now. Okay, sorry. Customer wanted the feature yesterday. We are still testing it now. So very high initial lead time when it comes to writing testing automation scripts. Also, because the feature keeps on changing with the application code, you'll have to edit the automation test cases and keep them up to date, which is again a very time consuming effort. So that's why the industrial number for organization being able to support automation, even after we want to adopt it, they're able to achieve 20 to 25% of automation, and rest 70 to 75% is still done manually on an average. So, since people realize that writing automation scripts is very time consuming, it's very hard to develop that culture. The next evolution was, let's not write the test case. Let's just record the user traffic and replay it in some other environment for testing purpose. And, then teams started using record and replay methodologies. I would say that, suddenly it gave people a lot more coverage, but it came with its own problems. It's very hard to ensure that the exact state is consistent. When you're replaying your traffic, you have to ensure that the test environments are consistent. All that becomes very hard. So although you have got the test cases by recording from some other environment, but ensuring that the application behaves the same way that it was behaving in some other environment, that becomes a challenge nowadays. So I think I stressed a lot on data mocks and test environments. Let me explain it with a scenario. Let's say we record it from some staging or pre-prod environment or prod environment. In fact, we get an API request to our application. Let's say in an e-commerce flow, I try to get items in cart of username Neha. It will just try to, the application will try to contact a database, MongoDB here. It will get the response that, Neha has 3 items in cart. And all those will get saved as a test case, general record replay scenario. Now, what happens when I replay that test case in my local environment, let's say QA environment? I will just rerun the request with the same with the new application version or even the same application. It will try to get the data from all the 3 items from the cart for the same username, and it will say who is Neha. Neha is not found because the state of database is not same, because the environment is not same. Now either you need to write a data mock here, or you need to set up some test environment here, bring in data from some other environment. And that is a huge effort. That is where, it becomes challenging with the record replay methodology today. So to summarize, there are 2 problems majorly. One, writing test cases is time consuming. We are just leaving on to the feature releases, and data mocking is becoming harder, especially in the scenarios of microservices where there are multiple dependencies, both internal and external. So let's take same case with Kepler. Once we record a test case and we are going to run it in the QA environment, Kepler is automatically going to mock the response that it would have got from the MongoDB, So I no longer have to worry about the consistency of the state. In fact, I don't even need to have the test environment in the first place now. All I need to just do it is run the application and have Kepler running in the same environment. That would automatically be able to mock any dependencies here, MongoDB, and my application will think it is talking to MongoDB, but Kepler will mock it. So yeah, and the response would be the same. The state would be mocked the same. Yeah, that's how Kepler works. In one picture, I would just explain that, let's say you record an API call with Kepler. You make an API call to your application via Postman or curl or hopscotch, right? Kepler will record all the network interactions that your application is doing, the request, API request, the API response, the subsequent, dependency, be it Stripe, Twilio, AWS, GCP services, anything. It will capture all that, will make it a test case and store it in the Kepler server. So this server could be self-hosted by you, since Kepler is open source, or it could be managed by us as well, however you like. And whenever you want to test the new version of your application, just run the application with Kepler test mode, and it will automatically run one by one all the API test cases with your application, and will also provide the application the data mock, which it captured from some other environment. Now, you don't need to have some test environment or data mock here now. Once it is provided, the application will give a response back, and Kepler will compare the responses, expected and actual response, and will provide you the report, how your if there is any new regression introduced with a new application version. This is how it works. Yeah, so now we also have Kepler here, where we can actually get the best of record replay methodology and not worry about data mocking and test environments or keeping the test environments consistent. I think I hope it should be able to save you a lot of time, and that's why we made Kepler open source. I think thank you for staying with me for so long. Too much of talking. Now we would go to the demo, product walkthrough of a sample URL shortener. And feel free to reach out to us on either Slack channel or our Discord channel and explore the GitHub repository, the docs of Kepler. Feel free to post any questions, Shubham. Please go for the product walkthrough.
Thank you, Neha. So now we would, so to begin with, I'll just quickly share my screen. All right, I hope my screen is visible.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Perfect. So like Neha said, Kepler is open source. So yeah, this is the GitHub repository for Kepler. This is for the main project. We have a lot of sub projects for SDK, for samples, for UI, and for some other related things. Like when you go through it, you can get a brief idea, as well as you can go through the documentation. But to begin with, I'll be showing you a demo, and this demo is based on one of the samples that we have. So, it's available here. So to start Kepler, since it's open source, all you need to do is do a git clone and Docker compose up, right? That's the easiest way to get started. So I'll do that. Yeah, so Docker compose up. Perfect. So this would run a MongoDB instance locally, as well as start the Kepler web server. So now if I go to localhost 8081, as we can see, we have a UI loaded, but it says, there's no test cases and there are no test runs. So for that, we'll have to, record some test cases. So one of the easiest ways to record a test case would be through, in this case, using Hopscotch. You could use Postman or curl or any other tool that you're familiar with. And let me quickly pull up the sample application. So in this case, the sample application is written in Go, right? And it's a URL shortener. So it does two simple things. It would record, it would take a URL as input, return a shortened URL, and convert it back to the long URL. So that's what this would do. So to show that, to start this application, like you can access the application in the samples repository. Like I said, I'm using the Echo SQL sample. So Echo is a router, and in this case, we're using PostgreSQL. So to start this, I need to start the database of the application. So again, that's a Docker compose. So if I do a Docker compose up, that should start the Postgres. And now that the Postgres is started, I can run the application. So I run the main function. Now, what's going to happen is I've already integrated Kepler, right? So to integrate that, I had to, we have the SDK for Go. I provided a name, which I would want to, use to recognize this on the Kepler UI, as well as the server URL. By default, it would go to the managed service. But if you're running it locally, like I am in this demo, you could just use this, which is the default endpoint. Now that we have Kepler set up, and I've started the application, all we need to do is just perform some API calls. So in this case, I can do a post URL in which I'm posting google.com, which I want to, which is the input URL. I do this and I get a shortened URL back. Now I can just do a get URL. So if I put this here, this redirects me to google.com. So the application right now is working as expected. And I saw a question regarding what happens for negative cases, right? So let's try one of those. So I'm going to remove the I from here. So this should remain, this should tell us invalid URL ID. So now this is a negative case, which is a 404 case. Now, if I go back to the Kepler UI and I refresh, I can see that it has recorded two cases. One is 200 and one is 404. Okay, so it did not record the successful one. Let's do it once again. Could be because it's cached in the browser. Okay, I'll have to, it's still caching. So maybe I'll just try a different URL, which won't be cached. So let's say bing.com. That's probably something which won't be cached. Yep, and I copy this. Perfect. So now, as you can see, I have a 308, which is for the redirect, right? I have the 200s where I inserted Bing and Google.com, and I have a 404 where I try to get a shortened URL which doesn't exist. Now, what makes Kepler special, right? We have seen a lot of record replay products. We ourselves have used a lot of record replay products in the past. Why we made Kepler is to deal with dependencies. Now, with this, for example, if I open any one of these test cases, I can see the response, I can see the request. So far, all good. So this is where it gets interesting. It has recorded all the SQL calls, right? And this is what makes Kepler different. So if you have API calls or you have database queries, those get recorded. So you can see each and everything. That for this case, it first did a select star. You can see what the parameter was. And then you can see that there was an execute concept where it ran an insert query, right? So all of this visible, and it's not this visibility. It's actually going to be mocked when I'm going to run my test case. So let's try that. So to even demonstrate this further, like this is the database that we started. I'm going to shut down the database. I don't need it during testing because Kepler is going to handle the environment and data for me. And now let's start Kepler in test mode. So there are two ways of starting. Either you can use an environment variable if you don't have access to the code base, right? Then you can use an environment variable, maybe in your CI pipeline, or if you don't want to touch the code base. If you want to run it along with the unit testing framework, right? We also support that. So for many developers, we want to do it where they already have existing unit test case written. So in this case, we provide integration with the native testing framework in Go, which is Go test. So for all somebody needs to do is add these 3 lines of code, and that automatically integrates Kepler with Go test. And they could in fact have other test cases manually written for some specific methods or existing test methods. All of those should also work fine. Now I'm going to run this test along with coverage. And because we have integration with the native testing library, some of the cool things that it would do. Okay, so it ran the tests, but it's showing that it failed the test, right? Now this is very interesting. So if I go inside, now if I want to understand, all I see here is the test case failed, because that's what it's logging. But if I want to deep dive, then I have the Kepler UI, right? So for that, I need to go to test runs. I can see 4 test case failed. I go inside them, and okay, so we go into a more interesting one. Yeah, let's use this one. So in this case, the application did not return any response, right? We can further deep dive. We can see that there's again a diff between the expected header and the actual headers, right? And the database calls were same. And let's see if we are able to see anything else interesting. So one other interesting thing, I think there was a question regarding this as well, is how does Kepler handle things like timestamps, or let's say things like auth token, right? So if the token is going to be random, right, it will be marked as noisy data. So for example, here in this case, when this test case was created, it had marked the timestamp as a random data, because timestamp would always keep on changing, right? It's never going to be same because it's related to time. So that is one way that where it would filter out. So it will mark it as noisy data and it will ignore during comparisons. Now, the second situation could be that let's say you wanted, I mean, you're using something like JWT, right, which is stateless tokens. Now, in case of that, what's going to happen is we provide an integration for using the time object. So you can use that same thing during testing, and your application would think that it's in that same timestamp, right? So that's how you can ensure that those JWT stateless tokens will still pass any point in time in the future. So that's how that part would work. Now coming back to a test case. So to further deep dive, we can see that the application has not returned any response for any of the test cases. So we can go back. We can see why this was happening. Okay, just give me a moment. Okay, so now all the test cases have passed. I've run it again. And now when I go to my test runs, you can see that my 404 scenario, which is supposed to return invalid URL ID, right? That is doing the same thing because, again, the same response. The same database calls also happen here where, move this, yeah. So the same database call happened where it did a select star trying to get the same thing, but there's nothing found. So it returned the same thing. Same happened in the case of, my redirects. So here I have my redirects. So sorry, this was my 404, my 308. In this case, it was able to get the right URL and return. So the test case was passed. Now let's try to find a negative test case. What happens if I change something in my code? So let me rename one of my attributes, URLs, and rerun the test. By the way, the reason my first time my test suite failed was because my database was still shutting down, right? So I had to wait for a second, but I initiated the test runs very quickly. And second time, all worked fine. Now in this case, I've intentionally changed one field and I've run the test cases. And as we can see in the summary, 2 failed, right? So let's go and check that out. Again, we can go to test runs. This time we can see, so first time, 4 failures. Second time, 4 pass. Now 2 failed, 2 pass. I open this and I can see that I can see a very clear diff around what changed. And in this case, since I renamed my attribute from URL to URLs, this failed. Now, this could either be a bug, in which case, you would report to the developer and get it fixed, or this could be, an unexpected behavior. You know what? From today, we're going to call it URLs. So what happens then? Very simple. Again, don't have to write any code for it. Don't have to touch your infrastructure for it. Just accept this as normal behavior, confirm. And from now on, this becomes the new normal. So if I rerun my test cases, okay, did I make the change? Okay, great. So I found a problem that I did myself now. So 1 is still failing because I did not normalize that particular test case. So if I go back to my report, I can see now 1 is still failing because I did not normalize that. So let me do that as well. I'm going to normalize this and rerun. Perfect. Now all my test cases are passing, right? Because I have now saved. Now if I go, I can just double check that. If I go in, I can see that it's expecting the field to be URLs, which I just normalized for both the test cases, right? Yeah, and like I said, the timestamps are different because timestamp will be different in the future. So those are automatically ignored because they are a noisy field. So you can also edit noisy fields. There could be a situation where you want to explicitly label or label or unlabel something as a noisy field, right? So that helps you make super reliable test cases without ever worrying about your dependencies, your databases, your test data, right? Or if you're writing a unit test, data mocks. So it can be super frustrating to, keep on updating data mocks. Many of them could be binary data, right? It becomes very hard, especially in, if you're in the machine learning domain, super hard there. Yeah, so this is a quick intro of the, the Kepler platform. I hope this gives, a brief idea about how this works and, demonstrate some of the capabilities of the platform.
How about we have some time, maybe we can show about the code coverage as well.
Yeah, sure. Oh yeah, we can do that. So like I said, since it's integrated with GoTest, right? One of the most interesting things is, let me move this here. Yeah. So one of the most interesting thing is it can also show you code coverage. So for example, currently in my test suite, like if I run this in coverage mode, oops, I ran it in CPU profiler mode. Yeah, coverage mode. So we have a 5-second cold start, which can be configured. Yeah, we can see there's 81% coverage. So I've not written any unit test and I'm already seeing 81% coverage. Now, most IDEs have, for example, in this case, I'm using Golang, which is by JetBrains. They give you the ability to see what part of your code is covered and whatnot. So for example, here, green means this is being executed. Yellow means partially executed. There's a flow which is not executed. And red means it's not executed at all. So there's an error possibility which is not executed. I can go further into another files and I can see different things are not, like, some things are green, some things are red. So based on this, I can now, add a test case which would also run those particular lines as well. In fact, something super interesting is Kepler uses Kepler to test itself. So for example, if you go to the Kepler repository, the main repository, you'd be able to see that we have, Kepler is testing itself with 75% coverage, and Kepler is a fairly large code base now. There is no manual tests written so far. So if you click on this, you can go into line by line coverage. So we're using cover also, again, a standard, code coverage product. We have, it natively works with Kepler without any problem. And we internally use it to, understand the test coverage. You can go and understand folder by folder coverage, file by file coverage. And all this is without writing any test case or maintaining any test data. So the key here is that while there's one level of record replay and, creating test cases from, performing actions, ensuring consistent data and integrations with existing tooling, that becomes super challenging and takes a lot of effort for a lot of development and testing teams. Yep, I think, yeah, this further shows how you can use Kepler, and same applies to CI pipelines. You can integrate, for example, if you already have a Go test pipeline in your Go code base, or in case you're using Java, you have a pipeline using JUnit already, you would not need to change anything. Exact same pipeline works. Nothing changes in your pipeline, so you don't need any custom functions. Your IDs pipelines work out of the box. Perfect. Do we take up some questions now?
Yes. In fact, we have a few questions that are available in the Q&A box if you would like to take them on right now.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
So, yep.
Yes. You wanted to say something, Shubham?
Yeah. So, yeah, one of the question was regarding authorization token. I think I talked a bit about it. So the way that works is very simple. Either that it's going to be a stateful token, in which case it would just show up like a database call, or it could be you might be using an authentication service, maybe a centralized authentication service, and it would show up in your dependency. So it would be recorded, and when you actually run your test cases, that exact same response is saved and returned back. So no problems there. If you're using a stateless authentication, maybe JWT, Kepler provides a way to access your time object. So it will allow you to use the same time object. For example, we already have JWT integrations. So it will essentially roll back the clock for application to when the test case was recorded, and that would ensure that your JWT token passes, because again, application thinks it's around the same time frame. So your stateless JWT auth would also work. Another question I'm able to see is how to use data-driven testing using record replay. I think that's super interesting, because all of this is about being data-driven. So once you have made one set of data, or you have any state available anywhere in any environment, it could be even a user-facing environment. Once that state is recorded, that is captured along with your test case, right? So whenever you're going to test, the same state is replicated, and you don't need to specifically maintain any test data or any data mock or any test database, which will be used for your testing scripts. So all of that is captured and packaged along with your test cases as well. So standard record replay products would capture the responses, the expected response, the request, or what operations to perform. We go one step further and capture the actual data and the network interactions. So that way you don't spend your time curating data, ensuring that you have consistent environment, and that way you can save a lot of cost for your infrastructure, and a lot of time. And the best part, it's open source. So all of that sensitive data, it can stay in your own cloud, it can stay in your own infrastructure, and you can use it as you like. And on the same point, since we're open source, we have a very active community, and it's a fast growing community. And it'll be awesome for you folks to come and join the community and build with us, right? So we are developers ourselves, and we're building for our fellow developers and testers. So would love to work with all of you, and build Kepler and make it the de facto standard for testing web applications.
All right, and I believe there is one final question, but I believe you already answered it. But it does say Shubham Jain is typing an answer. Do you want to finish typing that for Vijay?
Oh yeah, sure.
So I think you answered that.
Yeah, I'll be typing that.
Yeah.
All right, fantastic. So we have come to the end of our lovely Q&A session. So thank you all. Thank you, Shubham, and thank you, Neha, so much for this presentation and for answering all of our questions. And for the audiences, if you have any extra questions that you want to ask, be sure to go into our Discord channel so that you can see them get answered after the conference. If you have any more, since we are now closing the Q&A space. Now, as you've all guessed it, we are going to be moving on to a quiz, but this quiz will not be regarding Neha's and Shubham's session, but rather the quiz for the end of the day. But before we get to that quiz, I would like to invite Shubham and Neha to maybe perhaps say a couple of last words to the community before we close your session officially and move on to the closing of the conference. Any last words from you guys?
No, I think this was really lovely conference, and I personally enjoyed it. Hope other folks also enjoyed it as well. And thank you so much for having us. Really looking to make testing space automated and codeless.
Yeah, and really like the energy, and seems to be. I mean, we got a lot of interesting questions, and I'm sure it's going to we are going to be associated in the future in pushing the state of technology forward.
That is true. Oh, Neha, you want to add on to that?
No, I was saying thank you so much. Yeah.
Yep, thank you.
All right, thank you as well to Neha and Shubham for being our speakers. It's right back at you. We really appreciate you guys taking your time and energy out of your busy schedules, being co-founders of Kepler, to instead share your knowledge and expertise with us at this conference. So we really appreciate, and the gratitude is right back at you as well. Thank you so much. All right,
Thanks a lot.
everyone.
Bye. Have a good
Bye.
evening.
Thank you, you too. All right, everyone. So that concludes their session. And as you can see, Manish, our quiz master, is very excited as he is already turned on his video. So I will waste no more time. I would like to invite our quiz master, Manish, up to the virtual stage.
Thank you, Daniel. And yeah, this is the final quiz for this day. And I believe everyone had enjoyed question answers. And we can see the leaderboard is already there. And so hope you all are ready for the next couple of questions. So Daniel, are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's rock and roll.
Okay, cool. So guys, here you go with the final questions. So far, we have 12 response. Let's see. Usability, some say user experience. Let's see. Okay. Next question. Okay, none of the above. 55%. That is correct. So guys, are you ready for the final question for the day? I can see only top 10 are responding the quiz. Okay, here you go.
And it looks like we had a technical difficulty with Manish going offline right at the last quiz session. So that was pretty spot on timing, you know, the final quiz session getting overrun by technical difficulties, which is no one's fault. So we appreciate all of you having patience and understanding with us as we are experiencing internet difficulties or maybe RAM difficulties. Let's give Manish just a few minutes to come back and resume the quiz, because I'm sure all of you were prepared to answer that last question. All right, so let's just give him just a minute as he comes back. Oh, I think I see Manish has come back to the session. All right, welcome back, Manish.
Yeah, sorry, there was some network issue. I got it. Okay, so is my screen visible?
Not yet. In fact, your video is also not yet visible.
Yeah, that I stopped because of I just switched to the another network, which is the mobile network. Okay, sure, I'm sharing it again. Sorry for this, guys. Okay, I hope it is visible. So this is the final question and which we got as answer. So let's move to the next. Here you go. Okay. Let's see what response we got in. Okay, 50% people say not in all the cases. And let's see what is the correct answer. Correct answer is yes. So now this is the time to reveal the winner. So Daniel, what do you say?
All right, fantastic. So thank you everyone for answering all of our quiz sessions, and it's now time to reveal the leaderboard for the winners of the day 2 of the conference quiz contest. Are you all ready? Is everyone ready to see the leaderboard? Right, Manish, are you ready?
Yes, I am ready to show, but is audience ready to see?
Yes, we have one yes from Amir. Amir, you're back. Welcome back to the conference. We love to see you come back. Amazing.
Yeah.
Loving the dedication there. Sendil Kumar has said yes. So it looks like this is live to everyone and everyone is able to see. I think this means that the audiences are ready to see the winners. Milton Singh also says yes. All right, Manish,
Yes.
the floor is yours to reveal the winners for the day 2 conference of the quiz contest.
Okay. So this is the time, guys. So hope you all are ready. So let me do this for you. Here you go.
All right. Let's
So
have
congratulations to everyone.
Yes, congratulations to not just the top 5, but for every single one of you for participating, because if it weren't for your participation, none of this would be possible. So not just the top 5, but for all the participants for participating in the quiz. Congrats, everyone. Well done to everyone, especially the top 5. And the same rules apply as yesterday. Just be sure to type in your full name and email address into the chat so that our team members can be sure to send you your rewards, all right? Especially to the top 5. Manish, any last words before we end the quiz session?
No, I would say the congratulations to everyone and the well done. They did very well and they are well connected with us throughout the day and the result is in front of them. Thank you all. Yep.
All right, fantastic. So as you, the top 5, type in your full names and email address into the chat box. Manish over here will be taking note, copying, pasting your full names and email address so that we can keep track of the top 5 winners. And while Manish is doing that, I will be sharing my screen as your final host, doing the closing for our lovely conference. All right, when the results of other contests will be announced? Amir, that is a very good question. Now, as I've mentioned throughout the conference, we will be announcing it post-conference, which means after. But when exactly? Perhaps you should stay up to date by joining all of our social media channels. And that's when you'll find out the results of when we'll know the final winners to be announced. So in case you guys don't know, I will do that right now to show all of you guys our social media handles for your convenience. All right, good. Thank you, Amir. Much appreciated. Thank you so much. And for the rest of the winners, besides Vijay Ragavan and Sandil Kumar, the other 3, please be sure to type in your full name and email address into the chat box so Manish can keep note of it. All right, so I've now shared my screen, which is the quiz winner announcement, which we just did. But just before that, can everyone see my screen? Can I get a thumbs up or a yes or a number 1 in the chat box if you guys are able to see my screen? All right, thank you, Sendil, thank you, Amir, and thank you to the rest of everyone for participating, like Pooja, Ravi, Martin. Glad that even though Martin did not reach the quiz top 5, you still enjoyed a lot. That's the spirit. That's what we love to see, because the point of it is for everyone to learn and grow and ultimately also have fun. All right, so everyone can see my screen. Fantastic. So now we will now move on to the closing of our conference. All right. So for all of you who have been here for the whole day, thank you so much. And for those of you who are here in this very moment seeing this screen, as you can see, is our Discord channel. Very important, because it's not just for you to see your unanswered questions from the Q&A sessions after the conference. It's not just that. It's also the opportunity for you to be part of our Discord channel QA community, so that you can move forward with the QA industry with everyone else in the QA community. But also, it's the chance for you to give your feedback regarding our conference. So if you have any feedback that you'd like to give for our conference, maybe things that you liked, things that you would like to see done differently or maybe done better in the future, this is your chance to let us know by scanning this QR code so that you can join our Discord channel. We hope to see you guys there. So join our Discord channel to see your unanswered questions, to join the QA community, and also to give us feedback regarding the conference. We would love to hear it, as we would love to continue making events for you guys so that the events can be better and better each time. After all, it's by the QA community, for the QA community. All right. Now, I would like to just, very important, not just this slide, but for everyone watching this slide, I would like to say, everyone, we have now come to the end of the Codeless Conference. On behalf of QA Talks, we want to take this opportunity to thank all the esteemed speakers who joined us, giving their presentations to share the knowledge, experience, and expertise, using their time and energy to share all that for the benefit of the audiences, which are all of you guys and our QA community as a whole. And also, I would like to thank all our sponsors. Yes, now referring to the slide, I would like to thank all our sponsors for making this event not only possible, but as value-adding as it was. As you know, a lot of our rewards have been sponsored by these guys, so thank them so much. A great shout out to all of our sponsors. I would like to thank specifically our diamond sponsors, XLQ and Catalan. Not to mention our gold sponsor, Lambda Test, and our silver sponsors, Virtualan, Test Sigma, and Provar. And you may have noticed, these are the ones that are sponsoring our contest rewards. And not to mention our certificate sponsor, CertifyMe.online, as they are our official sponsor for the certificates that you may be getting based on what you have been participating in. All right. So if you are interested in hearing more updates on events just like this for the future, do follow our social media channels, as you can see right here. And again, for all those contests like the selfie contest, the key takeaway contest, and the active participant contest, be sure to post mainly on LinkedIn and Twitter, and tag us at QA Talks Community and hashtag at Codeless Conference 2022. All right. And not to mention our other social media channels for other updates, such as our YouTube, if you want to catch future events being live streamed as well, or our Telegram with updates, and Instagram and Facebook. We would love to have all of you guys be part of the QA community. Now, I also want to thank all of you, the audiences, for joining us. Whether you've joined for both days or even just one of the days, it means a lot. It means a lot to the QA Talks team, as we do this to share knowledge and experiences by the QA community for the QA community. So we hope all of you reap benefits from this event, not just in terms of knowledge, but also making new connections and in terms of enjoying the sessions as well. Because it's not just about learning and growing, but it's also about having fun. All right. So if you enjoyed this conference, do follow us on our social media platforms at QA Talks, so that you can stay up to date with this lovely community and for future events as well. Now, for your convenience, if you are unable to find us on our social media channels based on typing in our names, no problem. I've got you covered. Please look in the chat box, as I will be typing down our social media channels so that you can click on the link for your convenience. And I see there are some things in the chat box as well. Nice to see you. And everyone last 2 days, looking forward to see the next one. Thank you, Ravi. Nice to see you as well. Thank you, Bartos. Thank you, Amir. Really great. Thank you, Vijay. Thank you, Ravi. Yes. Thank you, Vijay, as well. Thank you so much. And everyone else, if you are watching this from the lobby or from the live stream, if you're watching this on the live stream, then that means you already know what our social media handles are. And if you're from the Zoom, do check out the chat box for the social media links. So if you'd like to join more events like this one, do follow these links I provided to you in the chat. Now, once again, the QA Talks team hopes all of you reap benefits from this event, not just in terms of knowledge, but also making new testing friends and enjoying the sessions as well. It has been a fruitful Codeless conference, and we hope to make even better events in the near future. And we hope to see all of you there. My name is Daniel Iskandar, your final host for the event, and this is QA Talks Codeless Conference 2022, officially signing off. Good day, good night, and thank you everyone for being here with us. Thank you all. All right, thank you.